welcome to another edition of College Football Madness. I don't have a template for College Football Madness. Let me finish this tweet. But that's what we've got, and it's more localized for those of us that care here in the Big 12. I know I'm up against a bunch of headwinds and what stuff. This is supposed to be a reaction video. I was up till 7 in the morning Utah time. That's roughly 7 hours after the game ended. Rice-Eccles Stadium, Salt Lake City, BYU, Utah, the HolyWar. And I wanted to do it last night. For one thing, I'm not sure. I had people sleeping in my house that late, obviously, and I wasn't sure I could control my voice. It was obviously pretty emotional. So I'm not sure how long this show's going to go. After me, at the top of the hour, at 7 p.m. Eastern time, will be the Moen After Dark show with Moen Vision, my friend and partner, and Rock and Rant as well has been a contributing editor, I would say, to the channel, and all the hard work they do. I could not salute them anymore. So I don't want to take oxygen away from their show. They're going to be heavy. They're going to be talking national. I didn't watch one other game yesterday. All I had in my head was BYU, Utah, HolyWar, Rice-Eccles Stadium, and what an experience that I'd hoped would be amazing because I had my. This is this is a little tough for me. I don't care if you clip this out or what. I get emotional with this stuff, and it's not about the game. I got through that last night, but doing stuff with my boy and my kids, family, right, is really, really important. And my health, as everybody knows, hasn't been great. My health is, I've had struggles last couple months. And for me, even to have, Daniel's going to sit and listen. I'm just talking, okay, Daniel, for a bit.
That's fine.
Okay. For me to get through all that emotion, to be able to walk to the game, it was tough. I was struggling. I had a hard time. We had to walk roughly almost 3/4 of a mile to get from our parking to the stadium. Maybe it was closer to even a mile. And my son, the entire time, was holding me up, right, keeping me straight. And that's what I'm emotional about. And then we got to go to this game, which outside of a couple of Seahawks games that I've been to, and a high school championship game that I've attended a couple times, I have never in my life experienced anything like that game last night. I'm not going to compete with the national competitors out there. I am certainly not going to compete. Right now, I'm head to head with Greg Flugar. I'm not trying to take Greg's oxygen. Honestly, I didn't even know he was online. I just knew that if I didn't do this now, I wasn't going to get to it. So I wanted to get out of the way. So that's what this is. And it was very emotional. 5 hours, no, 7 hours start to finish, which is about what you should spend in a football game. You go tailgate, afterwards, whatever you're doing. But this game ended, people, almost 1:00, and it was like 12:30 in the morning here. Very, very late. I'm not even sure how many people watched the game. I've gotten a lot of positive feedbacks. My phone was blowing up during the game. So many people DMing and texting. And I want to thank everybody for doing that. It really made me feel better about being there. But just to cap off the emotion part of it and turn the page, my son was there the entire way, keeping me on the straight and narrow, and it worked. There was times I almost tumbled. The stairs there are so steep. At the Old Kingdom, and I don't know, probably nobody watching the show has ever been to the Old Kingdom, but the Old Kingdom, the stadium steps, what I would have to say were at least a 35, if not a 40-degree rake. You're basically walking straight up without climbing gear. I have vertigo. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This isn't about me. This is dumb. This is going sideways. My intent was to say that my son got me through it. I was there with Wild Ute and his wife. And anybody attacking him, I'm about 30 seconds away from blocking you. I know the Big 12's upset. I get it. There was embarrassment involved with the end of the game and what was said by petulant children who can't control their emotions, couldn't take a beat, and I'm beyond words about it because everything they complained about later has been debunked. Terry McCauley, let me bring up this tweet. It was one of the last ones I replied to. So my son is a rock star. Wild Ute and his wife are some of the nicest people you ever know in your life. And I will never forget their kindness last night. Completely changed my life. Their unselfishness and their ability to look outside themselves to help other people is extraordinary. So knock it off. Quit attacking Wild Ute. I'm over it. Just stop it. Right? Any rivalry game goes down the wire like that, you're going to be pissed too. Right? But at the end of the day, everybody gets to sleep, wakes up the next day, and the sun rises. And they can think about their mistakes or the things that they maybe would have changed or done differently. And we move on. So knock it off. Quit attacking Ute. And Drake is a freaking rock star. Last night, I don't know how many hours he worked yesterday, but I saw Drake. Let's see, flew in. I think he said at 11. I didn't see him. I think Wild Ute had him with him, and they made him met up with some other people. But he did what, 7 shows yesterday or something? I mean, the guy is incredible, absolutely incredible, and I don't know how he does it. I mean, yeah, I do. He's young and he doesn't have a wife yet, and can do whatever he wants, gallivanting around the world with the crazy banana baseball players. But I'm telling you right now, people, if you don't know his name now, look him up. Locked on Big 12, Drake C. Toll. He uses his name. He doesn't hide. He says stuff and backs it up, or he apologizes when he finds out he got wrong. That's what we do here. If you don't own it, get out of the way. And we know a lot of those people, right? So Drake's a rock star. Most of what he said last night was true. I called him after his show, which was about 2:30 in the morning. And I was like, hey, this is my perspective. This is kind of how it went for us. Just to give you an idea how some of these things were different. And I'm not going to get into those now. I'm not going to talk about crowd noise. I'm not going to talk about the sold out stadium. I posted pictures. My last tweet, I think last night, was 3 stadium pictures. And if people take the time to zoom in on those, no, I'm not going to do your homework for you. Click on those pictures. And, well, first of all, follow me and Daniel on Twitter so you can get to those pictures. But go to those pictures, and if you zoom in, you will see there are missing seats everywhere. So the only thing I can think of was they were selling standing room only seats, and there were people all over on the mezzanines and people up on the top of the stadium. It's kind of a weird setup up there at Rice-Eccles, but on the top of especially on the east stands, you can walk around. It's completely flat. I don't know how people go up there. I'm afraid of heights. It's a tip right over the edge, but they go up there, and maybe those were the 2,000 or 3,000 extra standing room only seats. 45,000 in that, or 54,000 in that stadium seems inflated.
It was officially the largest crowd that they ever had at Rice-Eccles.
Daniel, I was there when they said it in the stadium.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is zoom in on those pictures, and I looked around who was sitting next to me. I was there. And I don't know. I didn't see a sold out stadium, but hey, I've been wrong before. Somebody proves it to me, says, oh, these few are this and these few are that, but really it was SRO. Whatever, fine. I'm not going to talk about crowd noise. Crowd noise is great, but it's not okay when you're when the play clock's running down and they're still playing music to the 7-8 second timer in the play clock. And I should have played Columbo. I did another tweet today. If I was thinking about it, if I was trying to get you, if I was trying to catch, Rice-Eccles and the way they run that place in some big, conspiracy about crowd noise, I would have done it. I didn't care that much. But then I see everybody talking, even Drake last night, oh, is this great? It was a great experience. I was there. It was loud. But in the middle, certainly between the 20s, I sat at the 45 with my son. We could see the entire field. And if Aaron Roderick was anybody but Aaron Roderick, BYU would have put up 2 or 3 more touchdowns because the entire middle of the field was wide open the entire game. The one time they tested it, they went 5 plays and scored a touchdown. So I don't understand what he's doing. He's falling. Aaron Roderick needs to be gone at BYU. I don't care if you're a BYU fan. I don't care who you are. He's had a charmed season up to now. But last night was the Aaron Roderick we've all known for the last 7 years. He is addicted. And I mean, he needs counseling. He needs to go to some sort of rehab. He is addicted with East-West play calls. I cannot tell you how much we were screaming about throw the ball down the middle of the field. I don't care what their defense was. We still had 4 or 5 guys in the pattern every play. Darius Lassiter was open, and oh my gosh, Darius Lassiter was probably open maybe 14 times on plays. And he's basically saying there, what are you doing? I'm right here. The last drive when Chase Roberts caught that ball in the 40 or whatever it was, great play, right? He dove and caught it. Now, I think that was a throw to Darius Lassiter, who was right underneath him, but he overthrew him. Jake was only seeing red last night. Utah, their defense is elite. Okay? They sold out on the blitzes, though. You have 7 guys in the box, and you can't account for them with all your guys. You got to get rid of the ball fast. Aaron Roderick is the quarterback coach. He is the leader of that offense. It's his fault what happened at the end of the first half. Kalani's taken the bullet for him. He's protecting him because they came up together. That's great. They're brothers and everything. But we've also had other coaches. Tuiaki was a defensive coordinator. He's gone. Jay Hill comes in with the same players 2 years later and is 9-0. Now, you tell me the change in defensive coordinator didn't make a difference. Jay Hill won that game last night. Aaron Roderick tried to lose it. He's been great. Pat him on the head. Give him his whatever his buyout is, and get a professional in the building. Buddies do not win football games. It needs to, I'm serious. The experiment needs to end. He was fired from let go from Utah, came to BYU, and he's been the same offensive coordinator the entire time.
I'm trying to find they were showing second half numbers or second half drive numbers for Utah. It was like punt,
I saw
punt,
there was
punt,
8
punt.
possessions.
Yeah.
8 possessions. And
turnover on downs.
They didn't get past the BYU 40-yard line. And they only got to the BYU 40-yard line once, ran one play, and then got a 10-yard penalty. So the entire second half was played on the Utah side of the 50-yard line. If you're watching this show live and you have it on ESPN, you can get it on ESPN Plus. You can watch it right now. If you watch the middle of the field, it's wide open. That's a fact. If you watch Utah's defense in the second half, went into a shell because they were so afraid that Brandon Rose was going to throw a pick 6. He threw 2 interceptions that he's extremely lucky were either close to the ground or were caught with a receiver right next to the DB. Easily could have been 4 interceptions. There were 2 others that went right through players' hands. And Brandon Rose did a good job, right? For what he came in, he played the switch-up quarterback. Nobody knew about him. Didn't know what he was going to do. He beat BYU the same way Oklahoma State tried to beat BYU. They running quarterback, right? The whole deal. You hope they make those adjustments at the end of the first quarter. Nope. Couldn't do it. So let's do it in the second quarter. Nope. Couldn't do it. Halftime. I told everybody around me, I sat down, I was calm and cool and collected. 21-10. And all of Rice-Eccles is exploding, right? Halftime, BYU's not ahead. It's a close game. Everything that went could have gone wrong did go wrong for BYU in the first half. They screwed up the last possession. They looked terrible. And honestly, they did play terrible in the first half. Second half, I tweeted, told everybody around me, Jay Hill does the best defensive adjustments in the all of college football. I have never in my life seen one team in the first half change so much in the second half, and yet Jay Hill's done it 4 or 5 times to win last-minute games for BYU. This season, he's done it. And I'm going to say it out in the air. I'm not trying to hide it or, I believe in karma, but Jay Hill, I'm afraid he's going to be gone at the end of the season. I put Jay Hill for president as a hashtag. I'd rather have him be the president than go and be an OC at the NFL the DC. I said OC, a DC at the NFL, or heaven forbid, another college football program head coach.
He'll get a head coach. He'll get head coach.
Well, there is the flip side. He had a heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
His kids are going to BYU. If you've been to Provo, it's a little family, right? It's a very small area. So I could see they given him $2 or $3 million to say. I could see them, a booster, writing a check saying, I will give you $5 million. Kalani's making $1 more than you. Associate head coach, I don't care what your title is, you have to stay in Provo. Because if he stays in Provo for 10 years, I don't know, people. All they need is an offensive coordinator.
Does anybody have Ryan Smith's phone number?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You bet. They're on speed dial down there. What are you kidding me, man? I'm teasing Ryan Smith.
But it's going to be really difficult that insert name of university wanting to hire him for a head coaching job. I mean, there's very few of them. And you're going to sit there and see that there's going to be some fairly big programs that's going to want them.
Oh, and there's going to be probably 50 or 60 that he could, his agent's going to be fielding before they get to him.
Of course.
It would have to be, in my opinion, as I sit here today, November 10th, 2024, if I had to put money on it, I'd say 49% he leaves. For a lot more money and more position. He wanted another challenge, which is totally valid, right? Or he was given a contract renewal and major benefits and a huge salary increase, right?
Most
him around.
Most assistants are only on one or 2 year contract. I mean, very rare that you see an assistant that's on a 3-year contract.
He's basically a head coach with a different title, right? Kalani, I don't know how much you know about BYU in general, but BYU football, Lavelle Edwards for 30 years was a manager, right? He was the general. Generals don't shoot people, right? Generals hire the colonels that get the people to shoot people. Kalani is the opposite. Well, no, Kyle's a manager too, actually. Kyle also, Lavelle Edwards tree, coaching, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, these two coaches are both managers, and they try to hire the best offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators they can that get the sub coordinators. And the Kalani's the leader. He goes out and does the rah-rah stuff. He'll give direction and instruction on strategy. And he'll set the ship tiller and say, this is the direction we're going. But then he lets his coaches go out and coach. That's all anybody at BYU's ever wanted, is somebody to come in, replace Lavelle in that regard, and then hire the smartest, best people, the most qualified, the guys that could be coaching at Alabama, but stay at BYU. Though the culture thing is so big at BYU.
But like I said, let's say, I'm trying to think of
Daniel, quick. I'm trying to do it fast.
I'm trying to think of openings that might come up. Say an SEC or Big Ten opening comes up, they've got money.
Yeah, I don't know. I at this point, all I'm doing is praying that he doesn't leave. Everybody sees it now. It's not hidden. It's not some secret that they can hide them away. Nationally, everybody's paying attention. So let me get to a couple points. So I'm not going to talk about crowd noise with the speakers. I asked Terry McCauley a question. I haven't even checked Twitter if he replied. But is there a penalty that can be instituted against the defense for an offensive team if the crowd noise is artificial? And last night they were running music down. I think the lowest I ever heard music was around the 7-8 or 8-9 time in the play clock. There is no stadium in the world that I have ever been to or I've seen on television that plays music down even to 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds. Music ends. It can trail into the play clock. I would say at the very least maybe 30 seconds, but after that, those quarterbacks have that green thing on the back of their helmet for a reason. Those radios can only go so loud. So it was it valid that they were doing noise in the end zones? Absolutely it was, and it was loud, it was organic, okay? I'm telling you, anywhere else on the field, well, the music thing I think is the whole field. But during the regular part of the game, the middle of the field, they shouldn't have had any trouble, and they had several false starts that they shouldn't have. So that's the first thing. So we'll have to break into the crowd noise and the music deal. The second thing I would say to Rice-Eccles fans and Utah fans, we had a good night last night. After the game, obviously emotions were high. I waited a half hour to leave, okay? I gave everybody every opportunity to leave because I knew I was going to kind of struggle to get out. I was tired. I had some breathe. No, I just wasn't getting oxygen, not because of the elevation. I live here, but because I just am not in great health. And my son was there for me. And I will just say, I wish there was more security in the concourses when you leave. Because we ran into probably 5 or 6 instances where people saw my son sort of shadowing me and were kind of bumping me off my line, right? Or there was this one couple of guys, and I won't get into whether they were drinking or not, but you can drink before you go in the stadium. And they were trying to instigate stuff, right? And I had told my son on our way out, we're not going to talk about the game at all. The only thing that distinguishes us is our clothing, right? We both had hats. We were going to stay as under the radar as I could. And those concourses at Rice-Eccles Stadium have to change. Spencer W. Cox, put some money into that stadium. Do I want Utah to have a bigger stadium than BYU? Absolutely not. But they need to do something about those concourses. Because if I wait a half hour and it still makes it so that I can't go 100 feet to leave the stadium without having these personal contacts because everybody's so close and there's no security to be found, that's a problem.
I've been to a lot of games, and they'll have probably 20, 30 minutes. They'll have security start pushing everybody out the door. And
we didn't see that. We didn't see any of that. People were lingering. People were hanging on the walls, standing around. There was so much standing around by those gates that we were walking out of. I'm like, what are you guys even doing here? I'm trying to get to this one door, and you guys are standing there like it's a procession. And the only thing I can think of they're doing that is they're trying to cause trouble. People are yelling things that can be ignored, but the physical stuff needs to be fixed. Security needs to be improved up on the hill, people. Spencer Cox, put some money into your state university. Invest in that state university. Make that stadium better. They need bigger concourses, more easy access to the exits, and more security. That's something that the school administration and the state should get some money. And then when the Olympics come back in 2032 or whatever it is, give them another 120 million to add 10,000 more seats. That would be exactly what BYU is at. So they're equal. And now more seats, more people can watch the games. And it's just better. It's college football. You already mentioned it. I'm not going to bring up the tweet. because I'm so tired. But you're right. It was 8 or 9 possessions in the second half, and they didn't lose in the last 90 seconds. They lost at the second half kickoff. They did not play football in that second half at all.
Exactly.
I mean, offense, defense was lights out.
Yeah.
But the offense, it's like they didn't want Brandon Rose to lose the game for them.
Exactly. Watching that second half, seemed like neither team was really moving the ball that well.
Right.
And BYU just actually got enough movement to get in the end zone a couple of times.
Right. That's something else I hate. Playing for a field goal. Again, Aaron Roderick. Now that's a Kalani call. At that point, they got down to I think it was the 27 on that run by LJ Martin, or was it Ropati? I can't remember. They got down to the 27, and then they basically said, Will Farron, is this good? Is this okay? And where do you want to be on the field? They had so much time they could have run 4 or 5 more plays, and I was screaming for him to get a touchdown. And the route that was open almost the entire game was the post corner. So if they would have run an under route, and I'm not a great offensive coordinator, but to us, Darius Lassiter was running these under routes that were almost wide open the entire game. They're going to watch that game film and go, and Kalani's going to go, Aaron, why weren't you making an adjust to this? But the post corner was open because they were playing man coverage with one cover zone, so they had the safety back. But he was trying to cover more ground because they had 6, 7 guys rushing almost every play. Jake was running for his life. So the post corner takes a little time, but if they could have brought in an extra tight end or something to give him like another half second, it was open almost the entire game. They tried it once with Chase Roberts, and he overthrew him. Right?
I have no problem with the way that that final, what was it, minute and change?
Yeah, it was minute and change. Yeah.
I mean, you had, I want to say it was like 48 seconds left on the clock. Neither team had a timeout. You had the 40-second clock. You just go ahead, bring your kicking team out, run as much time off as you can. I have no problem with that call.
Yeah, that's fair. I did in this game.
Yeah.
I wanted a touchdown. I wanted to win. I wanted to beat the spread. That was important to me. And I wanted them to make a statement. Yeah, we played like crap for 4 quarters. But this is what BYU's done. They've come down and won at the end of the game with these great plays. And it's like Aaron just panicked to get to where they were. And then Kalani panicked. Don't turn the ball over. So they're like, okay, leave it up to a kicker. And just so everyone knows, in HolyWar history, there's been a lot of games. Most games have actually, in majority, since 1952 when the Vel started, which is modern football, in my opinion. I was born in 70, so that's why I say 72. In my opinion, these games come down to 2-3 points. So field goals have been both sides. But in general, I haven't done the math. Maybe I'll have to ask Jeff. I'll send Jeff Fuller a DM. How many games have been settled by 3 points or less? And the number is crazy. And in those 3 points or less, how many has BYU won versus Utah? And in my opinion, just empirical, and I haven't done the numbers, I could be wrong, Utah has won more of those than BYU has won them. So when they were playing for a field goal, I was freaking out. I admit it. My faith was, but then I'm thinking at the beginning of the second half, I'm thinking, but Jay Hill did his job. He didn't let him score a point. So I'm thinking he's going to make this. Next point, north end zone, which is where Wild Ute, and it happens to be ironically Drake were. Those are alumni tickets. Very sharp football people there. I saw a game. I think everybody remember last year with Ute. Very smart football people are down there. They are analyzing everything. They're seeing it. And the kick. So this is, and talk about empirical knowledge. We talked about the crowd noise, right? And whether it was organic or it was piped in. At the end of the day, the only people that could really see that kick straight on is where Wild Ute and Drake were. It was the opposite side of the field, and they could tell whether it was going to go in or not. I was at the 45 high, and it was oblique. I could not see if it went through. So I wasn't actually, I took a peek at the goalpost, but I'm sorry, it was the reverse. I was watching the goalpost, and right after he kicked it, I hear this roar, and it sounded like a wave had crashed. This giant wave had crashed against this massive wall. So the immovable force and the irresistible, the whole thing. And it was this roar that came up. And I was like, wow, he missed it. Another game, he missed it. And then they say it goes through. And I'm thinking to myself, BYU fans, holy crap, you guys showed out. And they did. I bet you there was 8,000 or 9,000 BYU fans there. And they're only given about 2,000 or 3,000 tickets, if that.
On
but
TV,
there was blue everywhere.
Yeah, on TV, a lot of blue.
Yeah.
A lot
it was
of blue.
Awesome. It was so good. So and I would say this to BYU fans if the reverse had happened. Utah fans, don't sell your tickets. Don't do it. What the hell are you doing? If you're not invested for this game, I don't know what you're doing. I know you're putting money into your ski fund. You know the season's tanked. But if you can't show up for a HolyWar that had more national attention than it's ever in its history had, 100 years playing football, the game has never had more attention, and you guys are selling your tickets. I didn't think I'd get a ticket. It was 10 minutes from kickoff. There were still tickets for sale. I could not believe it. So you want to talk about crowd noise? You guys don't give away those additional 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 tickets. Maybe you do influence the game organically. I don't know. But that's why they did. That's why they went the extra mile for the noise, I think.
I was at a Cal Berkeley game probably close to 10 years ago, and they flagged the stadium crew for pumping crowd noise through the PA
see, that's
system.
what I was expecting.
Yeah.
That's what I was expecting to see. When you're 7-8 in the play clock, throw a flag. Say, I can't even hear what's going on because this music's playing behind my head. I didn't understand it. So the Big 12 officials that were there, man, you guys, who signs up to do that for $500 plus per diem? Tell me who does that, because I don't know what they're getting paid. 500. That's just a joke number. I don't know what it is. You could pay me $10,000 and I would not take that job. That is the worst job on the planet, in my opinion. Every call is subjective. Games aren't won and lost in the last 90 seconds, and you don't score a point in the second half. That's why Utah lost. That's it. BYU's defense was better in the second half, and you guys didn't score a point in 3 of the 4 quarters. You're not going to win many games in modern college football if you only score 21 points and you don't score in any other quarter than the second quarter. That's it. There's nothing else to do. First quarter, second, I don't care what the quarter was. You don't do it. So let's go, right? Let's just get away from that. Let's not talk about that anymore. Because the rest of the game, it didn't matter.
Yeah, I was about ready to bring up complaining about officials.
I know, yeah.
Bob Huggins used to get fined once or twice a year for talking about either Big East or Big 12 officials. So it's he complained about the officials. He got a fine. Who cares? Big deal.
Right.
I don't see anything wrong.
Right. Well, things go, right? Everybody does things different. Let's get to some shout outs. Now, this isn't a regular show. I got to be done in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
If you want your comment to be read, I'm not going to get to comments. I didn't even lead the show with, follow us on Twitter and subscribe and all that stuff. We would appreciate you did that. 71 people watching live. If you're watching live, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit that thumbs up if we're doing good. If you hate us, fine. Yell at me on Twitter, and I'm all over the place. You can find me anywhere. I haven't hide and run from nothing. So please subscribe and consider watching this. We got a whole list of shows all week long. At the bottom is all our programming hours, our normal ones. This is an out of normal programming event. And check us out. I've got the best team on the planet to do this stuff. And they're the best. Anyway, let me get to some shout outs. Jan Holk, who, I don't know, you disappear behind the Iron Curtain over there or something, Jan. It's good to see you. I've missed you. I hope you're feeling good. Please let me know if you need anything, okay? No voice. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know if that's my voice or yours. I'm surprised I'm able to talk at all. Great game. Congrats, Bomber. Thank you very much, Jan. Illini Ted. Hey, Bomber. Congrats. Thank you. Illini Ted's a member. Consider becoming a member. Hit that little $sign down there next to the comment section, and you can leave a super chat, which I will read. I read all my super chats, or whatever happens. Illini Ted. I feel bad for Utah fans. Them bottoming out this year has them in a tailspin, but their administration has to be held to a higher standard. I 100 million points agree with you, Illini Ted. It was embarrassing. I have a different story. It's not my story. It's Ute's story. Wild Ute is one of the most introspective, soft-spoken, kind. I'm not going to do that again, but he thinks and he plans and he does things to try to make Utah better. He's a grad. He cares. And Utah thumbed their nose at him yesterday. And I don't even know what to say. So, Illini Ted, your comment could not be more accurate on the Tuesday show. If Ute wants to show up, obviously he doesn't have to. We'll talk about it. But you could not be more. You're more accurate than you even know. F-18 Buffs, good to see you. Member a long time. Buffalo. The Colorado Buffaloes are good. They turned the corner. They proved me wrong weeks ago, so I'm not even going to talk about that. You guys, I think it's going to be us and you. I don't know where Iowa State went. I don't know what's happened to their coach. I would consider letting him go. Matt, or whatever his name is.
Matt Campbell.
We'll do that at Tuesday, but he can't get over the hump. I don't know. He's a good coach, not a great coach.
You want to know how many seasons Iowa State has 10 wins or more?
None. I know. Yeah.
Congrats
to BYU. Reffing is what it is. Love your emotion, Bomber. Thank you. Enjoy life. I appreciate you very much, F-18 Buffs. Glenn Lumen, all the way from the Philippines. Glenn, I was crying at the beginning of the show. You'll have to check me out. Now, I'm wondering, you watched it live. What time is it there? They're 14 hours, I think. So it was 12 hours. Yeah, they are. Philippines is. Yeah, it is. So you do the math. If it was 8, so it was 8 a.m. there. So, Glenn, you're getting to the end of your day. Yeah. It's great to see you. Good morning from the Philippines. I don't think it's morning there, is it, Glenn?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, now it is because we're getting into the evening. Yep, you're right. Glenn, love you. Still, next time you come to Utah, we have to get together. I was saying thanks to everybody there. TR Play says Kalani often speaks about the love between himself and Kyle Whittingham. I loved his expression when he didn't get a handshake. So everybody knows they did hug. It was on video. I saw it last night. I don't know about the handshake part. I don't know where that got started, but they did give a hug, and then he went to rip into the referees. So that's how it went. Love you, bro. See you later. You did a horrible job. It was quite the contrast in the change of about 8 seconds is how Kyle Whittingham reacted.
I mean, you've seen enough rough ball over the years. I've seen it too.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Everybody talks about the
you got
holding.
You got 20 seconds.
Okay, everybody talks about the holding. It was a hold. Everybody talks about the other couple of plays where it wasn't a hold. I mean, come on. Right. It happens.
Yeah, refereeing is subjective. All of it's subjective. Nothing is objective in refereeing.
Yeah.
All right. And Terry McCauley, I'm calling you out. I got to get a hold of you to ask you those questions. Johnny says Kalani's teams always come off a bye flat. That is true. And yeah, they've gotten over that hump this year. A-Rod called another head scratcher. Yeah, I'm telling you, they got to let him go. TR Play, Kalani often speaks about the love between. Oh, I already did that one. Nathan Campbell checking in, saying hi, guys. Greg checking in. Good to see you, Greg. Welcome to the show. BYU for a long time has been ending up in losing close games. That's true. This year they are ending up on top. These are close games. Yep, always. Immaculate. BYU is my number 2. Immaculate, your response last night to Mark Harlan. Look, everybody knows you and I don't always communicate at the same level. For one thing, you're smarter than I am, and I can't compete with you, brother. And so I think that's led to some friction over the past couple of years. But your breakdowns, and you did it earlier in the week, and I just expounded on them all over the place, how good a job you did about the comments during the midweek. Your comments last night were the most accurate of any analysis I saw, professional or not. And I know what you do for a living. You need to be doing what you're doing right now for a living somehow. We need to figure that out, because your breakdown, your disconnectedness to what happened last night after the game was brilliant. And honestly, everybody should canonize those, put them up and say, this is the exemplar for how you analyze post-game trauma. Because it really was. BYU is my number 2. I don't know. They didn't show it last night. I sure hope so. Their defense certainly is. Their defense is for real. It's 7:40 a.m. is what Glenn says, correcting us. That game started 11:15 a.m. Sunday. We're Sunday. He's Monday. So, Immaculate, that was the penalty. It was a kind of hold where the DB knows it's going to be called. When they do that, 15 yards is better than getting beat deep for a touchdown. Look, I couldn't agree. To me, I was screaming. I thought he mugged him. I'm like, what is that guy doing? Did he throw the ball? I couldn't see. It's funny. I was looking in that north end zone. I couldn't see Jake. He disappeared behind the lineman who collapsed on him, both offensive and defensive, and I couldn't see him. So I didn't know where the ball was. I actually thought the ball had been thrown. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. Terry McCauley agrees with you too. So you have been redeemed. Isaac Harlan, are you related to Mark Harlan? At Johnny, except they didn't when they played Arizona for a bye week. That was a blowout. Yeah, that was this year. Isaac. This year they've done well. They got past both of those bugaboos. Nathan Campbell says, hi, Immaculate. Nate, that holding call at the end, was it an actual holding? It was.
Yes.
So I don't know. If you follow me on Twitter, go to my replies. I'll retweet it, but go to my replies and you will see I addressed a tweet directly to Terry McCauley, 30-year NFL rep. Okay. 30 years, he's been analysis for another 10 or so. Probably one of the smartest people that even has ever been on a football field. The most experienced, certainly. And if he's telling you it's a hold, it's a hold. And Terry McCauley said it was a hold. Drop it. That's why Mark Harlan should have never been anywhere near that press room. All right, I've gone longer than I wanted to. I'm going to go 2 more. Mac, I appreciate that, just calling it like I saw it. I had the benefit of not having emotions on either side of it. Yeah, I definitely did last night. So thank you for being here, Immaculate. I really appreciate it. At Nathan Campbell, hey there. Nathan Campbell, hey, he was out of the penalty zone when they called the penalty. That's not true. If you watch it in slow motion, it's about the 3 or 4 yard line, 3 or 4 yard buffer it's an arm bar. Okay, yes. It's called an arm bar, and it's actually taught to DBs. It's an actual play. You put your arm out and you're trying to restrict their access. The arm bar by itself isn't what they called. He grabbed his other shoulder pad, which would have been his left shoulder pad, and that made it so he couldn't go deep, which is what Immaculate just said, or whoever just said it. It's exactly what happened.
You're allowed a couple yards with that arm bar, but he was way past that.
I'm sorry, Nathan. I apologize. I don't have – well, I got to go. I promised Mo and I wouldn't go long. Give me 1 second, okay? Everybody just be patient with me for 1 second. I'll see if I can – well, you don't have Twitter, so you can't even look it up. I don't know. Google it. Google it and say somebody – in fact, you can just put it in there. That's the last thing I want to get to, and I got to go. Okay. I love you guys. You guys are awesome. The last thing I'm going to say is the HolyWar. Is it for real? Anybody watch the end of that game in the press room and you tell me the HolyWar isn't a rivalry, 1, isn't passionate, 2, isn't football you would watch every single year and shouldn't be in your top 5 of national rivalries. I'm telling you right now, the Big 12 and ESPN did everything they could to promote this, right?
Yeah.
The rest of the world, if you stayed up late, great. You watched the game, you got the after show. The rest of the world this morning woke up to a Sunday morning that their entire Twitter feed was about the HolyWar, Mark Harlan, Kyle Whittingham acting like petulant children, and then what was the after effects of the game? That's it.
Yep.
Don't come at me, 46, yes. Don't come at me about whether the thing's a rivalry or not. Not only is it a rivalry, every year whoever wins that game should win the conference. So if you're Iowa State, if you're West Virginia, it's my show. I can say what I want. If you're West Virginia, if you're Oklahoma State, and you think that, okay, 2 years, Utah's in a year, yeah, we hate them. If you don't think every year the championship doesn't run through the state of Utah, I don't know what you're talking about. That's the last thing I'm going to say. I love you guys. You are awesome. Just keep doing what you're doing. Immaculate says it got an AD fine, 40,000. What he said last night.
That happens.
Big 12's going to throw him down and beat him to a pole.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
everybody,
Okay.
I love you. Thank you so much for being here. In 7 minutes, there's a show right after this, same channel, YouTube. Watch Moen and Rock and Rant, and they will break down all of college football, which I didn't see any of last night. And then I will see you guys Tuesday, okay? Continue to follow. Oh, let me get this comment off here. Follow us both on Twitter. Subscribe. Hit that like button. Become a part of the Mafia family. We're not building this for 2 years, people. We're not going away. We are building this to be here for decades. I would love to hand this to one of my kids to do. It would be awesome. So we're not going away. Subscribe and follow us on Twitter. There's nothing else I can really say. Everybody have a great night. Watch the show right after this. Put it on one screen. I know you've got multiple screens now. And on the other screen, watch Sunday Night Football. I know the NFL's big. This is the deal. Yep. Love you. Thanks so much for jumping on, Dan. You are so kind.
Hey, no problem.
All right. We'll see everybody later. Stay out of trouble. Go Cougs and go Big 12.
All right.
Peace.